Hey everyone, welcome to RYGR Sports. I'm Yash,
And I'm Logan.
and today we'll be covering the March Madness National Championship game. Personally, I think when me and Logan were on last week, I had UConn versus I think Arizona, and I had UConn winning the whole thing. Logan here, I believe he had Illinois versus Michigan, right? Or
Arizona.
you're 50-50 on it. Okay, so regardless of what happened, I think it was a great game. One thing I do think though, I felt that UConn really kind of had this game, especially in the first half, or at least the first 10 minutes of the first half. But, they just couldn't make a shot. I mean, they shot 9 of 33 from the 3-point line. If they even shoot 33%, which would be 11, I mean, they win this game, right? They only lost this game by 6 after shooting 38% from the field and 30% from three, which is abysmal. But, you know, uh, Braden Mullins, okay? He's the reason why UConn's here, so I got to give him that credit. But I mean, you can't be shooting 17 shots and only making 4 of them. I feel like that's not good, and I wouldn't really say it cost them a game because I mean, really, it was everybody on both teams because the field goal. I'm looking here, the UConn or sorry, Michigan, their best players, like as in I'd say Yaxel is one of their best players. He shot 4 of 13, which is not great either. Morris Johnson had a pretty good game. He shot 5 of 7. He was 2 for 3 from the line. He had 10 boards but no assists. Um, Ade Mara, he was 8. He had 4 for 7. He did have a big dunk towards the end of the game where UConn went on a little late run and he caught an alley. That was I think it was a great play. And then Elliot Kadu, I don't know how to say his last name.
Cadeau.
Kado, 19 points on 5 for 11, 1 from 4 from the 3-point line. He was 8 of 9 from the free throw line. You kind of see Michigan did shoot 12 more free throws than UConn, which I kind of think that was a little messed up since I felt like both teams were really aggressive and both teams should have had roughly the same amount of free throws. I think it should have been 22 and 22 for each side or something like that. I think the free throw disparity kind of really was a nail in the coffin for UConn because they definitely weren't shooting well. Um, Now, one thing I'd like to ask you, Logan, is do you think Michigan won this game more than UConn lost it? I don't know.
Um, no, I don't think UConn played that poor. I mean, holding Michigan to 69 points is probably Michigan's lowest number in a few months. This Michigan team has proven they can get 80 plus every single time they go out there. But when I look at the numbers from this game, this is a game UConn could have won, and I think should have won. I mean, you out rebound them by 7. You take 13 more shots. That you have 13 more opportunities to put the ball in the basket, and then you look at the free throw numbers, and it's like 25 of 28. I mean, UConn easily put themselves in a position to win this game. I mean, at halftime they had it within 4. Um, I think you know the way UConn lost this game was the 3-point line. 9 of 33. You're not going to win it with that, especially against a team against like Michigan, who is the best team in the country this year. They've proven time in and time out that they can beat anybody. But I was surprised by the Huskies in this game. I thought this would be a double-digit win by Michigan. I mean, to be fair, they kind of did control the game throughout both halves. But I think UConn shot themselves out of this one. I mean, if they make a couple more threes, maybe it's closer down the stretch. But Michigan really did their job, especially in the second half in this one. A couple big shots, big threes. Caravan had to play all 40 minutes in this one for UConn. I mean, even he shot 3 of 10. Mullins shot 3 of 10. 4 of 17 from Braylon Mullins is just not going to get it done. When you look at Michigan, really a group effort in this one. Nobody played more. No one played more than 30 minutes besides Yaxel Lendenborg, and he was playing kind of injured too. I mean, he didn't really do anything in the first 10 minutes of this game. He ended up with 13 points, which is not a bad number. It's a fine number. But Elliot Cadeau really stepped up in this game. He definitely proved that he belongs, and that he's a great point guard. I mean, a lot of people were doubting him, calling him a turnover machine before the season started, and he comes up and plays the best on a national championship winning team. You got to give him a lot of credit in this one. But what my overall thoughts on this game? UConn played well. They definitely played well. They were going to have to play a flawless game to beat Michigan, and they almost did. If they just make a few more threes, maybe the whistle goes their way in a few plays. Maybe they end up winning. But as a Michigan State fan, I hate giving credit to Michigan, but I mean they won the national championship, so I will give credit to the Wolverines. They had a phenomenal season. And my hats do go off to Dusty May and that squad for getting it done. I don't like the way they did it, having their whole starting five was transfers. I mean, there wasn't a single player on this roster besides Will Cheddar, who um, kind of stayed at Michigan. I know Namari Burnett is a guy that stayed there 3 years, or I think it was 2 years. But this whole team is just a team full of transfers and guys making millions of dollars to play for Michigan, which I don't really agree with how college basketball is kind of leaning towards that way. I mean, I'd hate to see all the teams kind of adapt to this method of going to the transfer portal and just picking up, the best players. And this is not the NBA. This isn't free agency. These agents of these players are just telling them where to go, and the name on the jersey really has no meaning anymore. And I hate to see college basketball changing like that. I mean, as a Michigan State fan, yeah, they kind of do it the right way, where they develop guys as freshmen and then they become seniors and they graduate from the same university. Programs like Purdue, Marquette do it that way as well. But a little off topic there, but yeah, credit to the Wolverines. I'm not sure how much of this roster they will retain next year. I know Yaxel Lendenborg's going to the draft. Roddy Gale's probably going to go to the draft. Ade Mara, their center, might test the waters in the NBA draft. I know Burnett is graduating. So yeah, I don't really know where this team kind of goes next year. Um, but I'm sure they'll be fine next year. Dusty May has proven he could develop guys, even from the transfer portal, to become pretty good players. So yeah, another season of college basketball in the books. I'm really excited for next year though, because I was reading a couple of preseason polls, and they have the Michigan State Spartans as a potential number one team going into number one team in the country next year, preseason number one. I mean, Michigan State has such an outstanding recruiting class next year, and their top two players really are, their top two players are returning in Jeremy Fears, who is considered the best point guard in the country, and then Cohen Carr, who can jump from Michigan to California in one shot. So that does it for this year of college basketball. A very similar season to last year. We had a lot of chalk in the NCAA tournament, not a lot of underdogs really winning and coming up big. So um, yeah, I mean, as far as this national championship goes, it was a pretty entertaining game. The game was within 10 pretty much the whole time, and UConn really put up a pretty good fight. A lot more fight than I thought they'd put up in this game. I thought Michigan would definitely win by double digits, but at the end of the day, they did just enough to win this game and bring home that championship. But a lot of credit to Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies for a pretty outstanding season, and they put up a pretty good fight in this game. So uh, yeah, that'll do it for me regarding this game. If there's anything else you want to bring up, or any other uh, stats or anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, so first of all, this question technically has to do with the following years. So as we know, Michigan beat Dan Hurley, who was so obviously I think already the best coach that UConn's already ever had. But um, I do think that he's going to be back for sure. I think next year. I know this is kind of a bold take here, but I think the Elite Eight is the floor for what UConn's going to be able to do next season. I don't know I don't know how you'd feel about that if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Dan Hurley is the coach of this team, it's a winning program. I mean, they've won two national championships in the last 3 years. So, um, yeah, obviously he's such an amazing coach, and they're a winning program. They've been probably the best program in the last 10 years, maybe 8 years, with three national championship appearances, two national championship victories. But some of their best players are leaving. Alex Caravan's graduating. He was one of their really good players. Therese Reed is leaving. He was a senior. He was their best player, arguably, this year. So those are two guys that they're really going to have to replace. But I'm not too sure on the recruits that UConn is bringing in next season. Um, but their roster is really good. Silas Demery is returning. Braylon Mullins is returning. So they're gonna have a shot to make some noise again next year, and especially in the league that they play in, the Big East isn't really overloaded with talent. UConn is going to be up there always. St. John's is going to be up there. But outside of those two teams, the Big East really wasn't great this year at all. So I'm going to assume UConn has a pretty good season next year, and maybe they end up with another top four seed in the tournament next year. But they've got some real nice players on this team. Solo Ball's another guy who's going to probably return. So they've got some guys, some solid players that are going to be returning to that team next year. And, I'm not saying they're going to make another national championship because, making this game in college basketball is such a hard thing to do. But it's a winning program. They know how to win games. They got one of the best coaches in the country. UConn's going to be fine, no doubt in my mind.
All right, that's good to hear from you. But on personally, my last topic, this again, I actually saw people talking about it. This is something I never really thought of until um, I saw something about it this morning. But Ade Mara, which I did not know during the season, was played basketball in Europe. Now, technically speaking, you can't play in the NCAA as a pro. You can't play like college basketball if you already went pro technically. But I'm not sure how or exactly the exact qualifications for it. But obviously he's playing. Obviously he's on Michigan. So what do you feel about that? Because I feel like in a way, it's kind of an unfair advantage for him in Michigan. I know he's not like a super high impact player. It's not like he's like some sort of NBA superstar, some European superstar, and he's playing college basketball. He's relatively just a normal basketball player. But I feel like it kind of gives you an advantage because you have experience that a lot of kids don't have at this moment. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so Mara actually spent 2 seasons at UCLA, his first 2 years in college. He is a junior, so he spent his freshman year and his sophomore year at UCLA, and then transferred to Michigan this year for his junior year. I mean, he comes out of Spain, so I mean, he's played basketball over there. Considering how young he is, I think he's only 20 or 21. He could be 22. Um, but my opinion on guys turning pro, um, and then coming back to play college. I know there was a couple guys this year that actually played in the G League and then got a spot on a college roster. I know the James Najee kid from Baylor was in the G League, and then there was another player that played on Alabama this year that also had G League experience. Got drafted, spent time in the G League, and then they allowed him to go back to um, the Crimson
Oh,
Tide to play
yeah.
college ball again. So I don't agree with that. I think a guy, once you get drafted, once you go pro, that's it. I mean, your time in college should be done with. Um, I'm not really too sure on the specifics with Ede Mara. I'm not sure what his playing time overseas consisted of. I don't know if it was pro league, whatever. Um, but it's different when you become pro and then come back to college. That is what the NCAA really has to crack down on and make a rule for. Um, but I'm sure Mara is gonna possibly get drafted, and then if he doesn't get drafted, he'll probably sign. He'll probably sign as an unrestricted free agent somewhere, 10-day contract. You know how it goes. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA has to crack down on a lot of things. Regarding the transfer portal and eligibility and all these different things that make the sport worse, in my opinion. Um, because obviously we've had a lot of chalk in the NCAA tournament these last few years, a lot of 1 seeds, a lot of 2 seeds, and that's because all the best players are being stacked up on the best schools. So I think there definitely needs to be a rule that implements how many times a guy can transfer and overseas. I mean, Illinois had a lot of overseas guys, but they never turned pro and then came back to school. So as far as that's concerned, that's okay in my opinion. Um, but yeah, Mars gonna be fine. I mean, he'll probably get drafted and he'll probably go to an NBA team. He's 7'3", so I'm sure he'll find a
Oh yeah,
job
it's crazy,
somewhere.
unbelievable. All these
Yeah,
seven
so
footers with in the NBA is kind of getting crazy. First, like we had like the famous ones like Taco Fall and trying to think of that other guy.
recently,
Who's that? What?
recently, Zach Edey.
No, no, no. But a little bit. Well, definitely way before that. It was he played with Taco. Well, not on the same team, but it was Yao Ming. That's who it was. Trying to think.
Oh,
I mean, and then now you have a bunch. I mean, now you have like Zach Edey. You have DeAndre Ayton, who's also a 7 footer. You have um uh, Wemby, obviously, right? So I mean, we've never seen a player like Wemby. I know this has nothing to do with Michigan, but Wemby, I think, is going to be a top 10 player when it's all said and done.
all right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for our national championship recap video. If you guys have any thoughts on the game yourself, make sure to leave a comment down below. Um, obviously, we have the NBA playoffs coming up. MLB season is now fully in swing, so we'll be making videos on those two topics as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys in our next video. See ya.